You keep telling yourself you're fine. You keep saying just one more day like this. But you know you're lying. You've wrapped yourself in routines that feel safe, but they're killing your fire. You're not lazy, you're heavy. Because you've been dragging blankets soaked in stories that aren't even yours. The kind of comfort that rots you from the inside out. Every time life hits harder, you tighten the wrap, curl deeper in the warmth of excuses. Tell yourself the pain will pass if you just stay still. But pain doesn't leave when ignored. It multiplies in the silence. There's a fire in the basement. It's been flickering under your life for years. You've heard it cracking through the floor, but you covered it with soft lies and told yourself it's nothing. It's something. It's everything. And today that fire is done waiting. It's breaking through. You want to know what rock bottom feels like? It's not screaming. It's silence that eats you. It's smiling in public while your soul begs to be seen. But hear me. Silence doesn't mean stillness. Stillness is sacred. Silence is survival mode. And you've survived long enough. Abraham Lincoln burned distractions to focus on purpose. He knew when the country's burning, you don't have time to explain your feelings. You act. You cut. You burn the blanket. Say it out loud. I don't need warmth. Say it again. I need fire. Because this version of you, the one that lies still when it hurts, is not your final form. This is the version they trained you to stay in. Numb, quiet, easy to manage. But easy won't build legacy. Cut the rope or die lost. There is no halfway out. You either burn the blanket or the blanket buries you. You want purpose? Then stop protecting your pain. Stop justifying why you stayed. Start fighting for who you're becoming. You've spent years making your chains look like jewelry. Time to rip them off. Time to stop covering the fire and start feeding it. Let it rise. Let it break everything that was too weak to hold you. You don't owe your past anything. Not one more day. Not one more excuse. Not one more apology. Comfort is a cage when worn too long, and you've worn it like armor. But armor that doesn't fit becomes a coffin, and you're not here to die soft. Say it again. I rise anyway. Even if I'm afraid. Even if I don't have it figured out. Even if the fire burns everything I used to be. Because what's left after the burn, that's you. The real you. The one they tried to silence with comfort, and no, you're not broken. You're unwrapped. You're unfinished. You're finally exposed to the fire you were always meant to carry. So here's your only command today. Burn the blanket. Stand in the heat. Let the fire rewrite your name. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You've felt it. The shift. That moment where the blanket's gone. The excuses burned, and you're standing in the cold. Naked. No lies left. No one clapping. No comfort to fall into. Just pressure and fire. This is where most turn back. Not because they're weak, because they never learned how to stand inside the flame. You want to rise? Then you have to anchor the fire. Let it stop dancing and start directing. Discipline over emotion. Structure over story. Decisions made in stillness, not in storms. You don't get to move based on mood anymore. You move based on mission. The fire in the basement is no longer wild. It fuels every floor now. Every word you speak, every move you make, it becomes your heartbeat. Steady, not desperate. Say it again. I rise anyway. Even when it hurts. Even when nothing around me reflects the future I'm building. Even when I feel like nothing is working. Because that's where most fold, in the invisible grind. The habit loop doesn't care what you want. It cares what you repeat. And every time you choose discipline over dopamine, you rewire your soul, cut the mood, build the muscle. This isn't about feeling ready. This is about being anchored when everything else is floating. This is about becoming the one thing you can trust in chaos. Stillness is sacred, but stillness isn't pause. It's power. You move without flinch now. You act without applause. Thomas Edison lit up the world after 10,000 failures. He didn't ride waves. He anchored to an idea. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. You think greatness is convenient? It isn't. There will be days where you want to scream. Days where the fire feels too slow, too quiet, too invisible. But invisible progress is still progress. Say it again. I rise anyway. You're not here to flare up and burn out. You're here to burn steady. to feed that fire until it builds a furnace no storm can shake. You're not a spark. You're structure now. The world trains you to chase, but fire that chases burns everything around it. Fire that's anchored builds warmth, builds vision, builds legacy. Stop chasing. Start choosing. The weight you carry now, it's your proof. You wake up and do it anyway. Not because you're fearless, but because your fire matters more than your fear. Say it again, I rise anyway. And when no one's watching, when the crowd's gone, when the days feel the same, even in the silence, you're still building. So let them doubt. Let them mock the rhythm of your fire. They've never seen what happens when the heat runs deep. They've only seen sparks. You're becoming the flame. Anchor the fire. Feed it every day. Own your motion. Build your furnace. Say it again. I'm not done yet. They're going to ask you to explain, to justify, to shrink your fire into something they can tolerate. But fire doesn't explain. It burns. You've crossed too many lines to turn back now. And this time, you're not negotiating with weakness. Not theirs. Not yours. You were taught to be soft-spoken. Taught to nod when you should have walked. Taught to over-explain your worth to people who never earned the right to hear your truth. But that season is over. Draw the line. In fire. In blood. In finality. Because if you keep explaining, you'll stay explaining. If you keep asking, you'll keep waiting. And waiting is the slowest way to die with potential still in your bones. Cut the rope or die convincing people who were never meant to walk with you. Say it again. I rise anyway. Not for applause, not for approval, for proof. Because clarity is quiet, but boundaries, they roar. And the day you stop negotiating with your lesser self is the day the world sees your final form. No flinch, no bend, no bargain. You are not for sale. You are not a discussion. You are not a compromise. You are a verdict. Rosa Parks didn't stand to argue. She sat down to end the conversation. Legacy doesn't debate. It declares. Saying no is a form of self-respect, and you've got wounds from too many yeses, too many deals made under pressure, too many times you made yourself small to keep peace that poisoned you. The fire isn't hidden anymore. It's climbing the walls. It's showing in your walk, your words, your silence. It's becoming your presence. You don't just have fire, you are fire. And fire doesn't fold when questioned. It grows. Say it again. I rise anyway. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. Let them leave. Because the truth is this, they were never meant to hold what you carry. Stillness is sacred, but so is refusal. The kind of refusal that snaps chains in silence. The kind of refusal that makes history kneel. You're not a maybe. You're not waiting to be picked. You are the movement now. Walk like it. Speak like it. Breathe like it. The world wants explanations. Give them results. The fire in you isn't asking for space anymore. It's taking it, room by room, word by word, step by unshakable step. No more shrinking. No more softening your edge for people who never sharpened your strength. No more just this once. No more deals with weakness. They don't get access to your fire anymore. They had their chance. Now they get to watch the house glow from the outside. Because the doors are locked and the furnace is yours. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You don't talk the same anymore. You don't rush to explain. You don't show up to be seen. You show up because it's already done. Because the fire inside you doesn't flicker. It radiates. You used to chase approval, chase eyes, chase nods that meant nothing. But now, you walk heavy, not with burden, with proof, with scars that shine, with silence that speaks louder than their noise ever could. You carry what they can't see, and that's the point. You've built your name in silence, and now the silence walks with you. No fanfare, no permission, just presence. And presence doesn't need to announce itself. It shifts the room by walking in. Say it again. I rise anyway, not to be noticed, to be known. By myself first. They want you loud. They want you frantic. They want you needing them to feel real. But you've outgrown the game. You're not louder. You're deeper. You're not chasing. You're chosen. not by them. By the path that tried to kill you but couldn't. Cut the noise. Walk heavy, because heavy means earned. Heavy means scars that healed without applause. Heavy means power built in silence. Frederick Douglass didn't shout. He stood, and the silence bowed to the weight of what he'd survived. Not because of volume, but because of vision. Quiet power travels farther. Louder doesn't mean stronger. Presence is earned in pain, and you've earned it. The fire in the basement, it's in the walls now. They feel it when you speak less. They feel it when you say no without a tremble. You don't ask anymore. You decide. And decision is power. It doesn't tremble. It doesn't chase. Say it again. I rise anyway, because I know who I am now. And the fire I carry isn't for show. It's for direction. A lighthouse doesn't follow ships. It guides them. They'll ask what changed. Tell them nothing. Then tell them everything. Because sometimes the loudest shift is the one that never needs to be spoken. You've moved from echo to origin, from noise to impact, from please see me to you'll feel me whether you look or not. That's what walking heavy means. Stillness is sacred, and in that stillness your weight multiplies. You don't prove, you don't perform, you embody. That's how fire becomes presence. You walk into places now and shift energy, not with what you say, but with what you've survived. The furnace of discipline, the silence of cold nights, the refusal to quit, and that weight, that's not baggage, that's armor, built in fire, worn in stillness, carried in silence. Say it again, I'm not done yet. You burned it all, the lies, the limits, the version of you built for survival, but never for flight. And now you're standing in the smoke, staring at the ashes, trying to decide if you're allowed to leave them behind. Let me make it simple. You are. That story, it's over. That mask, it melted. That weight, it's not yours anymore. Stop trying to rebuild what you were meant to bury. Say it again. I rise anyway, even if they still call me by the old name, even if I'm the only one who knows I've changed, even if the ashes whisper, come back, because that's what ashes do. They don't want to be left. They want to be held. But you're not called to hold ruin. You're called to carry light. You want to fly? You want peace? Then stop mourning a version of you that was never meant to last. Some things had to break so you could finally breathe. You can't fly while dragging burned wings. You can't lead while looking back. And you sure as hell can't evolve while cuddling what once caged you. Cut the guilt or stay grounded. They might remember you for who you were. That's fine. But the future's only waiting for who you become. And it doesn't live in ash. It lives in fire. Maya Angelou didn't frame her scars. She turned them into flight. She didn't hide her pain. She refused to be owned by it. And neither will you. The flame behind you. It did its job. It exposed. It destroyed. It refined. But your job now is to walk forward. Not to explain the ashes. Not to rescue your past. To release it. Stillness is sacred, but release is holy. And what you're dropping isn't weakness, it's weight. Weight you no longer need to prove how far you've come. Say it again, I rise anyway. Even if my hands are shaking, even if the road ahead is quiet, even if I have to walk alone at first, because I'm not ashes. I'm light, and the fire in me didn't burn me down. It revealed me. Now I carry the flame, not the smoke. Let them wonder what happened to the old you. Let them ask where your softness went. Tell them it was buried under everything you had to survive. Tell them you didn't lose anything. You left it. And don't look back. Don't turn around when it gets hard. Don't explain why you had to leave what was burning. Just walk with fire in your chest and peace in your pace, because ashes are for grieving. But you're for building. You're the next chapter, the new weight, the unchained step. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You spent your whole life looking for the spark, waiting for the sign, begging for a breakthrough. But here's the truth. You were always the fire. Every breakdown you survived. It wasn't the end. It was ignition. Every silence you sat in, fuel. You've been forged, burned clean, cut down to the bone and rebuilt by pressure. And now you don't carry the flame. You are the flame. Say it again. I rise anyway, even when I'm doubted, even when I'm isolated, even when nothing around me looks like what I saw in my dreams. They thought you'd break. They waited for you to disappear, but you didn't disappear. You became undeniable. You became the thing they said you needed to chase. No more begging, no more bargaining, no more bargaining, no more building altars to their opinions. You don't knock, you arrive. Cut the rope or die dependent. You've seen the bottom. Now walk like it. Now speak like it. Because the real ones, the fire carriers, we don't scream for validation. We radiate truth, and truth doesn't apologize. It walks with weight. Stillness is sacred, and you've mastered it. You didn't just survive the dark, you learned to glow in it, and now you lead. This isn't hype, this is legacy. This is what it looks like when the furnace becomes a torch, when your past becomes proof that purpose won't die quietly. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't light movements with noise. He embodied what they feared, conviction that didn't flinch, and that's you now. You don't hope, you hold. Say it again, I rise anyway, because storms weren't setbacks. They were training, and every moment you thought was meant to end, you was only shaping your echo. You are the echo. You are the evidence. You are the fire that lights others. And now it's your turn to pass the torch. No more becoming. No more waiting. No more shrinking. This is your stand. You don't burn out. You burn forward. And every step leaves a glow for the next one. Still fighting the cold. You're not chasing light anymore. You're carrying it. Some storms were just your training ground. Some silence was sacred space. Some pain was permission. And all of it, every ounce of it, made you this. You are not a flicker. You are not a moment. You are a movement. And the world doesn't get to ignore you anymore. Say it again. I'm not done yet.